everybody, and welcome to Every Book All at Once week 5. So we are going into another week, and that means that I have to find a new goal. For anybody who is new here, I am doing a challenge in which I'm reading every book on my TBR all at once. I'm currently reading 21 books, I think, at the same time, and let's see if we can kind of get rid of some of them throughout this week. Now, last week I managed the benchmark, meaning every book needed to be at 8%. Last week I managed that, which means that this week the benchmark stays at 8%. It will only move from next week onwards again. So we are safe from the benchmark. I don't have to make sure that every single book is at a specific percentage anymore. This week we can focus solely on the main reading goal, or we would have if I would have managed the main reading goal, because now I also have to deal with the punishment. Now the punishment has been voted on over on my Discord, and the punishment for this week is to some extent a pretty hefty one, because it means that every time I sit down to read, I have to roll the dice to decide between 6 books, and then the dice roll will decide which of those 6 books I'm going to be continuing in. So depending on what my overall goal is going to be for this week, that could be a real hurdle. I think I'm going to be focusing on Magical Readathon throughout this week, so I do have more than enough options for that to constantly have 6 options. I am going to allow myself an exception, like when I'm on the commute, I'm just going to read the one book that I'm currently listening to on my commute, and when I wake up I tend to read one chapter in The Waking Fire nowadays, and I'm also going to continue that, because that's also an audiobook. I don't have to spend much effort into deciding it, so it's just like it's the moment in which I'm waking up. Like I've snoozed a few times, I'm awake enough to be like, okay, turn on an audiobook, and so I don't want to be spending brain power at that point in time deciding what. But in any other moments in which I'm reading, I'm going to be doing just that. But so let me grab my phone so that I can do a screen recording and figure out what my overall goal for the week is going to be and what my activity goal for this week is going to be. So screen recording, yes. Come on, cats. Yes. Okay, spin the wheel app. So for our main goal, the main goal for this week, I kind of wanted to finish a few books. I mean, I had that goal last week and I didn't manage it, so maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it should just be like something simple. That is not simple. Start a new book. Alright, the positive about this is that for Magical Readathon there is, like, at the very least one book, but there are 2 books actually that are part of my Magical Readathon TBR that are not books that are on this project so far and that I haven't started yet. So it'll have to be one of those 2, because otherwise, I mean, otherwise this is a huge issue. But that is actually a really nice one, because that means that I have liberty. All I need to do is start it. It doesn't say anything else, you know. So I'll just have to make sure that one of those 2 other books is in my dice rolls throughout the week, and that at one point in time this week the dice are favorable to me. So that's the only catch here. The dice do have to allow me to start this book. But aside from that, that seems like a very reasonable one. But did I say that last week? Yes, I did. So let's figure out the activity for this week. Buy a book. I guess we could do a 2-in-1 now, buy a book and start that book. It was too good to be true, right? I do have to check, because I have a pre-order that is due in September. I do have to check when that one is due to come, because imagine me buying a book today and then tomorrow the pre-order shows up. So I'll have to check that, but aside from that, yeah, I guess I'm buying a new book this week and adding it to this challenge. Yay? I mean, it is yay. Or maybe, ooh, yeah, that could be an interesting one. but then I have access, like I was thinking maybe like a memory called Empire, because it's also one that's on my TBR for Magical Readathon, but I also have it on audiobook. So all of the books that are on my Magical Readathon TBR that I haven't started yet are either books that I already own or books that I have like access to through Storytel, for example. So I don't necessarily want to be spending like the money on a book that I already have access to, because what if I then don't end up enjoying it and then I'm spending, you know, like money on a book that, you know, a few weeks later I'll find out that I actually didn't really like all that much and that I shouldn't have bought if I would have just waited until I'd finished it. So we'll have to have a think on what I'm gonna do with that particular prompt, but yeah, this is not what I was expecting for this week. And yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But in any case, it does mean that it is, like, it's a reasonable goal. You know, the only element that puts it like a little bit of a more risque element to this is the idea of like the dice roll. I do have to have the dice roll make me start one of these books. So I think for tonight I'll already put one of these 2 books, like, or 3 books, on sort of like my list of 6 books for the dice roll, so that, you know, if I'm lucky, I can already start a new book tonight, and then that's immediately like done with, you know. Whether I end up buying a new book this week or not, which I will have to then do like later, which I will then also have to start in order for this project concept to continue working. That we can still decide like later within the week, but at the very least I'll already have started one, and then that goal is already out of the way and it's like not haunting me for the rest of the week. But yeah, I'm going to go and edit now and yeah, roll the dice, I guess. Hello guys, so it is Tuesday evening. I just had sort of like the general meeting of the building, but now I'm back home so I can get some more reading done. So yesterday I started off with a few of my first sort of like punishment rolls, and I, like, you won't believe it, but I luckily drew the 1 on my first roll. And even though the book is not visible on there, I promise you guys, it was Runes of Smoke that won this draw. So I got to read Runes of Smoke, and it turns out that I only had like 2 pages left to go. So Runes of the Smoke is a prequel. It's a prequel novella to the Smokesmith series, and I cannot think of the name of the first book at the Seeds of War. That's the first book by João F. Silva. I enjoyed the prequel, but I enjoyed Seeds of War more, and I was kind of expecting the prequel to be about another period in time. I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that we were following like different perspectives, and because it's a novella with different perspectives, it means you get very little from each perspective. So I kind of actually enjoyed that. Rather than having maybe like 100 pages from one perspective, I actually enjoyed having like 4 small perspectives within those pages, and kind of leaving certain perspectives at like specific moments in time and being like, okay, I guess I won't really find out what happened to them, though potentially through the other perspective you do. But I did enjoy it. But so yeah, I only read 2 pages in that this week, because it turned out that the epilogue was just 2 pages long. So yeah, I'm done with that now. So that means one last book on my currently reading, and then for my other draws, I drew Sky on Fire, and then I was like, I read like 2 chapters or something like that in that, and then I felt like changing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take like a book with me to the bedroom for like a final chapter before going to sleep, but I want something else. So I did another roll, but I didn't, like, I was already not in the mood to like roll again, and I was like, you know what, I'll just keep the Sky on Fire on there, and I'll just roll again and hope that it doesn't land on Sky on Fire again. But of course it then landed on Sky on Fire again. So I read another chapter in Sky on Fire, and then I did another roll, and I ended up with my current read, which is The Principle of Moments, because I did start that yesterday evening, or like I did continue that yesterday evening in bed, but like 5 pages in, I was just too tired, and then I did the typical thing where I just tried to continue until the end of the chapter, but I was just constantly falling asleep and getting nowhere, reading the same paragraphs over and over again. So in the end, I just had to be like, you know what? Let's just start this chapter all over again tomorrow. And then this morning, I also did another roll already to know what I will be reading after Principle of Moments, which it's a little bit of a cheat to do it like that, I think. But so my other role is the will of the many. So now I know that, I think originally my plan was I'm going to like focus on Principle of Moments, get a lot of progress in that, and then maybe read a chapter of Will of the Many. But it is already 9 o'clock, so probably I will just read one chapter of the Principle of Moments and a chapter of the Will of the Many, which, it would be better for my progress in the Principle of Moments to read a little bit further into it, but on the other hand, this whole challenge was also like part of my reasoning with this challenge was also that certain books were going to stand out, and I was going to be able to push through those so much easier, and so I would make progress in them much easier. But somehow with this challenge, I am still kind of preventing myself from reading those because I feel like, oh, once I've read those, I won't have any of those like books that I'm so eager to get to, or the books that are like so amazing, so I should still like spread them out. My brain is still doing that, even though like let's try and tell my brain that we can focus on the Will of the Many and the Silver Blood Promise as much as we are able to because of the dice roll throughout this week. And then I'll still, at the very least, have The Gods Below to focus on in other weeks, which is another book that I'm really enjoying a whole ton. So let's let the brain focus on these two books as much as I want to, and then we'll deal with the rest afterwards. But so yeah, I'm going to be doing that now for the rest of this evening, and I don't know whether I'll have time for anything else beyond those two books, but those two books we are making progress in tonight. Alright guys, quite some progress today. I DNF'd the book. I finally DNF'd The Waking Fire by Anthony Ryan, which is very sad because it was like the read-along book for the Dragon-based read-along that I'm hosting. And it's part of a series, so it was going to be the second series that we were going to tackle this year, but I just really felt like I was wasting my time with it. Like it wasn't a waste. I wasn't like it wasn't torture or anything like that. I was getting through it. I was enjoying it in the moment, but I was just really like not retaining anything of this book. And at the end I was just like, we're 400 pages into it. I'm still feeling like that, and I feel like I forget every page the moment that I finished it. So why am I still bothering to go through with the entire page count for this just so that I can sit, just to finish it, because I'll immediately forget it. I have not really gained anything out of this reading experience. So I don't know particularly what it is about this book that had that effect, but yeah, I ended up deciding not to. So if you want to give me suggestions for dragon-based books, definitely do so, because we are looking for 2 more books to replace the second and third book within this series for the rest of the read-along. But on the way back from work, I also finished a book. I finished Escape to Willow Cottage, which is the book that I'm reading for Magical Readathon for the prompt of reading a book with a title in the color of the prompt wheel. And so my prompt wheel gave me like baby blue, cerulean, anything like that. And so the title for this is part light blue, part pink. And so I'm using it. And this one I enjoyed. It's like a contemporary read. It has some romance to it, but like romance is not at the center of it. It is about a woman who basically is trying to escape an abusive relationship, and she impulsively buys like a cottage in the Cotswolds, but when she arrives there, it turns out that it's like really a wreck, and so she has to, she kind of decides then to, like do a fixer-upper on it, and it's just about that adventure along with the townspeople and this one obnoxious guy that, she keeps on bumping into in the beginning of the book. And so I enjoyed it, but there are a few things that I didn't really enjoy about it, though to some extent I can understand them, but it just wasn't all that enjoyable to read about. But there are like 2 instances in particular in which she jumps to certain conclusions And while I can understand what is causing some of those, like why she would jump to those conclusions because of what has happened in her past, I also feel like they were really annoying, where it was like, okay, but this isn't like, why are we making these assumptions? Why are we going off of these assumptions? It just felt like, it just felt annoying to me to have those assumptions be in there, even if I can kind of understand that for her particular circumstances, the first of these two sort of like assumptions make sense. But so yeah, I did enjoy it. It's like a 3.5 star read or something like that. And I don't know whether I'm going to be picking up another contemporary next for my commute to work. I might try to see if I can just listen to The Sky on Fire, or maybe The Lantern of Lost Memories, which is a book that I also have on my magical readathon TBR, because that will like help my magical readathon TBR out if I can listen on the commute to some of those books as well. But so yeah, I have also booked tickets to go to the Eurostar but I've also booked tickets to go to London because there was a sale on for the Eurostar, and so I am going to London in a few weeks' time. So that will be also included in my vlogs, because I'll definitely still be busy with this whole reading every single book all at once project. Now, earlier this week I said, like, I need to buy a book, and then I was like, oh, but maybe I have a pre-order coming in, and I do have a pre-order coming in. I don't know whether it will be here on time, but I also don't think that that actually fulfills the buying a book prompt, because I've already bought it. It just didn't arrive yet. So I have options here. One option would be to order another pre-order that is going to come out later. But today I just saw a post for a special edition for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by just Susanna Clarke, which is right behind me here. There, the white one. And this is getting a 20th anniversary edition that is stunning. And so I might buy that one, which doesn't add to the project because I already read it. Will I reread it? Yes, but that won't be like, there's no obligation there time-wise or whatever. It doesn't have to go into the TBR project. So this might be a smart move to make that my purchase book. Hello guys, so it is Friday morning. I am working from home and I thought I'd give you guys an update. So yesterday I kind of like figured out how to roll the dice in my favor. Basically all week I've been complaining that these dice have been working against me, or this die has been working against me, and like it's constantly rolling like for the same books, and even though the books kind of change position, it's always giving me a wrong, like the option that I don't want. And then like I think the last roll I did on Wednesday evening, I figured out like that it set 6 at the top prior to rolling, and then I rolled and it said 6 again. And so yesterday I kind of used the idea of like, what if the number that starts at the top ends up being the one that I roll every time? And so I did 2 rolls yesterday, and both times that is what happens. You know, the number that I started off with was a number that ended up being the one that was chosen. So yeah, I'm gonna be changing my dice strategy. I'm not entirely sure yet whether I'm gonna, just change the die, or I might also put the die in like I have this sort of like goblet for rolling dice, and so I'll probably use that to kind of get a fairer result, I guess, because now that I figured out how to roll the die, I can just choose whichever book that I want, basically, and I'm guessing most of the time it will work. But so yesterday I then finally got to put some other books into the mix. So yesterday I read a little bit, or started Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This is a reread for me. This is for a magical readathon prompt in which I had to read the debut of one of my favorite authors. And so Sayaka Murata is one of my favorite authors, and so I'm rereading Convenience Store Woman, which is also nice because, you know, it's been a while since I read that one. And while the basic premise of it, of course, I know it'll be nice to kind of revisit like the entire vibe of the thing, because you know, I really enjoy that one. It's a short one and it will be nice to get through. And then in the morning, I also started The Lantern of Lost Memories for my commute. This is another book that I need for Magical Readathon, and I'm not entirely sure anymore what that prompt fulfills, but it sure fulfills something, okay? I just don't really remember what. I only remember the reasons that I'm not using it for, because there are a few things with, like, it has memory in the title, which is a prompt that I need. It has a blue title, which was a prompt I needed that I have also already fulfilled this week. But I'm using it for something else, and now I just cannot remember what that something else is. But yeah, I'll put it on the screen. So that one is also a Japanese translated book, and it seems to be about like the in between life and death. So between life and death, you basically visit this man who helps you rebuild a lantern, and that lantern is basically the memories that will kind of flash before your eyes when you die. And so I'm not that far into that one yet, but so far that has been, you know, like wholesome the way that I expect this book to become. And then yesterday evening, I also continued on in The Phoenix Keeper. I've been wanting to end my evenings on The Phoenix Keeper for all of this week, and so I'm happy that with this trick, I was finally able to make it happen. And so yeah, I'm really enjoying that one as well, and that one has like the cozy vibes that I think are like perfect to end an evening on, but we probably won't get back to this situation for the remainder of this week, because the rest of this week I'm going to let the dice decide again, and hopefully have no control over what they choose for me. But so yeah, working from home today, and my sister yesterday evening came to collect the spare bed from my sort of like I call it my, you know, like my office. That's how you say it in English, right? Because that's where, you know, like my desktop computer is, and like most of the space is taken up like by. I have a huge cupboard there, and then I had like a single bed there, and so that took up a lot of that space because it's just like a single person bedroom basically in terms of its size. But now I've removed that bed because basically it was only there for like my niece and nephew to sleep in whenever they would come, and I can like put up a like an inflatable bed or something whenever they come around. But I've been doing a lot of step aerobics, and when I'm doing that in the living room, even if I like move my coffee table aside, it still have like limited space over here. And I need to like close the blinds always so that people don't see me. Whereas if I do it in that desk area, then I can I have a much bigger space to work with there. I'll have to clear out a few things as well because this is kind of my junk room, and so there's a lot of stuff like standing there now that's kind of taking space up that could be like used for that whole space area to be more like bigger for exercise. So I'll probably like in the week of that I'm off, I'll probably do like a run to the like container park to get rid of a few of those things. But yeah, I'm hoping to build a little bit of an exercise area, yoga studio-esque type space over there. So yeah, that's the intention for that. But yeah, now I'm just gonna get through this final work day of the week. I've not been sleeping well all week, so I'm very much looking forward to the week to be over. Coffee is getting me by so far. And then this weekend, I'm really gonna try and focus a lot on reading. And so yeah, I'm really hoping to make some decent progress in the books for Magical Readathon this week. I'm doing fine, I think, but I'm probably still a little bit behind on my goal for all of them. And it would be nice to get like, ideally, I would actually like to get to like halfway through all of them by the end of this week, because we will be at the midway point of the month. And that means that time is running out for Magical Readathon, and I still have a lot of books to finish for it. Guys, it's happened. I just got the notification that the Dandelion Dynasty set has shipped. I knew this was going to happen, of course, but still, part of me was like, who knows? Maybe it will only ship in October. Who knows? Maybe I'll like be super far along in this project at that point in time. But no, it shipped right now. I've just received a new book. I've just received Violet's Things by Chloe Gong. Now I got the notification that the Dandelion Dynasty set is on its way to me, and I haven't decided what to do with that set. Like, maybe I should just include, I guess that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to include the first book within this project, and then hopefully that'll be like the last thing I finish within this project, and then we can see the rest of the 3 remaining books as like being completely outside of this. Or I could completely keep all of them out, because I have received the proposal to do like a read along for it within 2025. And then I can have somebody else to talk about it while I'm reading it, which would also sound perfect. But somehow it does feel like cheating a little bit to not include them within this project, because it feels like I'm not reading all of my books at the same time. So let's wait until they're physically here, which will just be next week. But okay, let's just wait a little bit for that, for me to think about what to do with this. So comment down below, I guess. What should I do with my Dandelion Dynasty set that will arrive next week? Is it part of this project, yes or no? Good morning. It's a lovely Saturday morning from me and the cats to you guys. Don't mind the hair. I haven't bothered actually getting up yet. So I have done Barbora is doing a lot of sprints today. So I'm going to be really focusing on reading today. But in general, like this weekend, I think I'm going to really make it a heavy reading weekend. But so I have rolled out of bed not that long ago. I feel like I have my coffee with me now, and I've started with Deathless by Rob J. Hayes. But I think that for today, for every sprint, I'm going to be rolling again to figure out what my next read is going to be. So I had a good time with Deathless during those 45 minutes, read 2 chapters in it, got through 18 pages. That one is really going well for me, I think, at this point in time. I think most of the books are going well. I have added Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong into the pile, because that one is it's the first book in the series, and I just got Buffy. I need to hold his phone. And I just got the sequel to it, Violet's Things, arrived earlier this week. And so I was contemplating putting Violet's Things on, starting with that one, but I feel like I would be doing it a little bit of a disservice. I do think I remember enough of Immortal Longings to go straight into Violet's Things, but I also feel like at the end of Immortal Longings, I was like, ooh, I need the sequel now. So I feel like it would be perfect to reread the first book and just have that rush into the second book that I felt like at the end of book one. So I'm gonna be rereading Immortal Longings, even though that of course makes this project a little bit longer, because it means that I have 2 books that I need to read basically, because I'll have to read Immortal Longings before going into Violet's Thing. So that is added onto the pile now for me to start, but so far the dice have not been rolling that way. But so yeah, I think I've made some decent progress now in a few of these books. So Deathless, The Sky on Fire, and The Silver Blood Promise are at a very decent percentage-wise, though I would want all of the books probably to be at 50% for me to feel almost secure in my magical readers on TBR. Whereas I think that that's probably not going to happen. But we'll see. I have got quite some time prior to, today to read, and we'll see where we end up, I guess, by the end of the day. What I'm kind of fearing is that, we'll just end up with a few books that are much further, very far along, and that the dice will never allow me to read some other books. But I do have a workaround in mind for if that were to happen, that I might have to use tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna continue drinking my coffee, gonna prepare some breakfast, and I'll roll again to see what the next book is that I'm hopping into. So, second roll gave me Principle of Moments. This book is really beloved by this dice. I feel like this book has been chosen so many times since I've done the dice rolls. But I think what I'm gonna do during these sprints is kind of in terms of the amount of books, I think I have enough books that are on this that are currently in the pile for me to always put the last 2 books in which I make progress out of the pile, and then roll again, and hopefully that will give the books that I haven't been making much progress in more opportunities to get chosen. But so yeah, I am 35% into the Principle of Moments at this point in time, which I'm also enjoying. I'm not fully sold on it yet, but it has you start off with 2 perspectives. One is a time-traveling boy who basically goes back to the early 19th century, where he returns to his love, who he left behind for a few years while he was looking for his father who disappeared. And his love turns out to be George, the grandson of King George of England. And so we meet up with him there, but due to circumstances, he's kind of forced to abandon George again. And then the second perspective that we're following is a young girl who's living in this sort of like prison type planet where basically she doesn't really have much of a future because humans are basically just like used for labor there, and the androids are the ones who are really running the place. But she has basically been hacking into the system to prepare herself, train herself to one day potentially be able to escape the planet. And then she kind of stumbles onto a scene that she wasn't supposed to stumble onto, where there's this person who meets up with her mother in curious circumstances, and that kind of sets off another storyline. Enjoying that one definitely, but I'm not fully invested yet. And the thing that's kind of throwing me is that there's this sort of like mythology within this world, and that mythology is it seems to be a sort of case of like history repeating itself, and like reincarnation, and these mythological like the people that are part of this mythology are basically like their story is coming back to reality in this new storyline. But it's kind of throwing me the sections that we have where we get like passages from those myths. But so yeah, on to the next one now. We may have changed the way of doing the dice rolls, but it's still choosing the same book. So have another chapter of The Sky on Fire, or like another chapter, another sprint of The Sky on Fire. I think I went through like 3 or 4 chapters within those sprints, but yeah, chapters are pretty damn short. And I am listening to like 1.75 speed for this one. So yeah, I am going through it relatively quickly. Though page count wise, it is actually more or less the same amount of pages that I read in The Principle of Moments right before, which also has a relatively short chapter. So that also means that it goes by quicker, of course. But so 29 pages in like 45 minutes seems like, it isn't even that fast, probably. But so yeah, I'm enjoying that one, and I'm really getting into it now because I feel like in the beginning I wasn't fully invested. And I think what helped me out was yesterday during my time with The Sky on Fire, I was basically like reading it along with listening to it, which meant that I like processed it a lot more. And like today I started off like that, but then like finally it was like, let's just see if I can do like a little bit of gaming on the mobile while listening to it and still continue to have as much attention on it as I've been having like the last few chapters that I've been reading in it. And I feel like I was successful, so I feel like now we are invested enough and like grasping the story enough to continue on audibly in this book without necessarily having to read along. But so yeah, I'm enjoying that one. I'm enjoying the sort of like connection between the characters. I'm especially enjoying Anarot, our protagonist, and then Sicarian and Gwydion. I'm not as invested yet in Rist. I don't think I like Rist all that much yet, but who knows. But so yeah, I'm enjoying this story, and I'm enjoying it more now that we're a little bit further in, and like now that the setup has like kind of passed along and we're really getting to the sort of like heist section of this book. But so yeah, it is time for me to get some lunch. I'm going to do the roll for the next sprint, but I'm not entirely sure whether I am going to be reading in this sprint already, because I also do want to do a workout, and I want to do a shorter one. So maybe after lunch I might still just do the workout and get like take a shower. Maybe it'll be like the perfect time for it, though it'll be too close after my lunch. I probably should still wait, or I should exercise first. I think I'm gonna wait then, I guess. I think I'll aim for like doing some exercise around 2 o'clock then, I guess. All right, not that much reading happened in the last few hours. So I had lunch, I made scrambled eggs on toast, and then I like finished that while watching some of The West Wing, which I've gotten back into. And so I basically did a little bit of watching that. Then I did 30 minutes step exercise, had a shower, and then in between all of that, I did like 3 chapters, I think, of Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, which I'm rereading in order to go into the vilest things. And I'm already immediately like back into Immortal Longings. I know a lot of people had issues with it. I don't really like. I understand the issues. I just don't really get the complaint about it, as if like people are like, oh, it's really like um, so this deals with like body hopping, and it's like really questionable in nature and questionable in terms of the consent and stuff like that. But it's not like this book is like portraying this as being like an ideal scenario or anything like that. It's definitely portraying a gruesome reality, and it's never trying to say that this isn't gruesome, and that it's never trying to like reason that this is a correct way of acting. So I was always a little bit confused with that sort of like backlash against it, because I was like, yeah, but the book is not condoning this. The book is not saying like, oh yay, this is a super fun power that exists in this world. But so yeah, I'm very much back into this read. I really love the atmosphere of the city that we are getting in there. So it's kind of a spin-off of Hong Kong. And I really enjoy the nitty-gritty, like film noir type of atmosphere that this book evokes. And so I'm very happy to be reading that again. And I'm happy that I decided to reread Immortal Longings before going into Vilest Things. I think it will just make my experience that much better. And then, like in the previous sprint, I have been reading Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, which is also a reread for me. And like that one is, I'm flying through that one. Like I got through like 60 pages of that within like one sprint. So that'll definitely be an easy one to finish. And I actually looked up whether Sayaka Murata has a book coming out, because I was like, oh, I need a new Sayaka Murata, but it seems like we will get one in 2025, so very happy about that. But so yeah, I'm gonna put The Sky on Fire back onto the pile and do another roll to see what I'll be reading for the final sprints of Barbora session. And I actually might call that a day for today, maybe not, but I'll take like a longer break, I guess, after this, and maybe I'll do like one or two sprints, one or two reading sessions like at the end of the day today. I might just take like a break for like dinner and then like a movie or something like that, or some gaming, and then just get back to like a little bit of reading before bed. Morning! So, this morning I haven't rolled the dice yet and I have read, but I'm laying down, not sitting down to read. So, that means that I can choose, right? So, I started my day by watching like a reaction video to Charmed, which I've been following this couple who've been watching Charmed from the beginning, and they were like up to the season finale of season 3. And if you know Charmed, you know that that's really exciting. And so I watched that this morning, and then I read like the 2 chapters for Wind and Truth for this week's reaction. And then I decided that I was going to just like play some like a little game on the phone, and then I thought like, okay, I might as well combine that with something for my reading. And so I put on Convenience Store Woman to listen to while I was doing that. And so I've just finished Convenience Store Woman. I still really like it. I think it's definitely like its style is definitely like
something that I can understand people having an issue with. And there's a lot of like misogyny in there that I think people might take offense with, but I also feel like while the misogyny isn't really being fought against, I think you can also see that it is the point to include it there. You know, it's not casual misogyny where like the author is not aware of what they're doing, putting it in there. I think it's very much intentional. And like her other book, Earthlings, Convenience Store Woman, is a lot about like society and society's expectations and about those people who step outside of society's expectations and how difficult it is for people who are fulfilling traditional roles to kind of get the other way of life and to support other decisions and other life paths. And I definitely think that that is just like it's a generalization. I think there are plenty of people who are open and embracing of people stepping outside of the normal path. And especially nowadays, I feel like that is much more the case. But I can definitely see that it is still the case that the majority of people live their life in a specific way, following a specific path, and that anybody stepping outside of that traditional path to some extent is open up to scrutiny more than somebody who follows the expectations of society, who follows the path that people expect everybody to follow. But so, yeah, I really enjoy Convenience Store Woman a lot, and I should remember how quickly this book goes for whenever I feel like the urge to kind of reread it or Earthlings, because you know it's such a quick reread. I might as well put it in there from time to time whenever the urge, you know, hits me. But so now I'm going to film my reaction to Wind and True chapter 3 and 4. Probably try and edit that because I'm going to meet some friends. We're going to spend like a little bit of the afternoon in a park somewhere. So reading might not be as much in the forefront today as I had originally planned it to be. So we might not get as far in all of these books as I had hoped I was going to get through this weekend. So who knows whether this is where I lose my sort of like magical readathon progress, but you know, you gotta live as well. So yeah, I have plans for this weekend now. All right, it's Sunday night, more or less. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. So we're getting close to the end of the weekend, getting close to for this particular vlog. I don't think I'm gonna make like the lofty goals that I set out for myself at the beginning of the vlog, but we definitely have made a decent progress in these books. And yeah, I have just been reading in the Phoenix Keeper, so I'm about like a quarter of the way, like I'm a quarter of the way into that. I'm 29% into that. I also read that last night as well as my final book before the end of the day. I don't think I talked about that. But so I feel like that one is definitely taking a little bit of a slow start. I feel like now we are getting to like we've set up the story and now we're getting to the meat of the story, but we are like 110 pages in when that storyline starts to come around. And like I was a little bit surprised that this entire book is almost 500 pages long, which seems somewhat long for like a cozy fantasy. But who knows, like I definitely felt like it was taking a little bit too much time to set up, but it might still fill out the rest of its page count without any issues. But so yeah, that what I'm currently reading, and yeah, I'll do another roll, I think, to figure out whether The Will of the Many is finally going to make an appearance again, because I only got to read in it early on within this week. I kind of feel like it's not really standing a chance now because it's like the bottom book in the hierarchy, because throughout the weekend I haven't really been shifting the books. I've just been adding the books on top of, like at the top of the pile all the time. And so The Will of the Many is now at the very bottom because it's the only book on that pile that hasn't been chosen yet. But I feel like the moment that I'm going to move it into another position, I'm going to roll a 6 and it's going to be the book that I replaced The Will of the Many with. So I won't be moving it, potentially to my own detriment. But yeah. Yeah, I'll just be reading a little bit more today to try and get as close to 50% in these books as possible, so that I can feel a little bit like feel better about the possibility of finishing all of these for my magical readathon TBR. But I do also think that I'm going to use Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong for the mask emoticon prompt, because in Immortal Longings there's this idea of body hopping and kind of going into somebody else's body, and like using their body, and I feel like that is close enough to like using a mask, masking your identity, that this could work for Immortal Longings.
Good morning. It is a Monday morning. I'm working from home exceptionally today because the laptop was still here, of course, because I was working from home Friday, and I was like getting I didn't sleep well again tonight, and so I was like, you know what, I'm late for work. But if I work from home, I won't be late for work, so I decided to do it like that. But so yeah, it's my lunch break now, and I thought I'd give you guys the update so that I can close out this vlog. So the vlog was like the weekly goal was a success this week. So my goal was to start a new book. I think I started a few books. At the very least, I started Convenience Store Woman, but I think I also started Lantern of Lost Memories this week, and I also started Immortal Longings this week. And then my other goal was to buy a book, so I received Violet's Things, which I said was not counting because of the fact that this is a pre-order that I bought months ago. But I did also pre-order something throughout this vlog. So I pre-ordered the 6th book in King's Dark Tidings, which is going to come out, I think, in December of this year, or at least the audiobook is. Maybe the ebook will come earlier, but I'll probably wait until the audiobook, actually, to be fair, because I do listen to King's Dark Tidings via audio. But yeah, that is a purchase. I did try to go and look for the 20th anniversary edition of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, right? Yes. But they didn't have it in store, so I couldn't buy it. So the pre-order for King's Dark Tidings is the thing that I purchased, and that ended up happening just like that, because I was I went on Twitter and then I saw the announcement for King's Dark Tidings number 6, and I was like, oh, okay, buying that. And then I was like, oh, okay, I actually was going to buy the 20th anniversary edition of Susanna Clarke's book, and I still went to look for it, and I might have bought 2 books in that case, because yeah, the Susanna Clarke one is not going on my TBR, so it wouldn't have had an impact neither. But yeah, I did buy a book, so that goal is also successful throughout the week. And then I didn't have a benchmark goal, so that meant that I didn't have to reach a certain goal for all of these books. I'm currently at the end of this week reading 21 books at the same time. I think I finished a few books and I DNF'd a book throughout this week, but what is a week anymore? What is time? I don't remember what happened throughout this week. I think this is the week in which I finished Ruins of Smoke, DNF'd The Waking Fire, and then also finished Escape to Willow Cottage and Convenience Store Woman. But potentially some of these things happened last week and I just don't remember what time is. So yeah, let's go into another week. I hope you guys enjoyed this week. It was a little bit light in terms of the goal, but I think it's gonna be quite heavy in terms of the content because of all of those roles that I did for the punishment of, you know, like having to use a wheel every time I sat down. I do enjoy that this week I really got to focus on magical readathons. So all of the books that I was rolling between, I always made sure that they were magical readathon books so that I could make progress in my magical readathon TBR. And so I am happy that I could like fully focus on that throughout this week to make some progress there, because definitely the week before Magical Readathon progress was very, very light. And even though the progress in terms of finishing books wasn't that great this week neither, so out of the books that I finished, I got to count like 2 or 3. Like I got to count Runes of Smoke, and I got to count Convenience Store Woman, and Escape to Willow College. So I got to count 3 books, but I still have like 9 books on this TBR that need to be finished before the end of September. Though in worst case scenario, I can use some guild points to kind of buy a scroll that says that I can continue a book beyond September. But like ideally we want to be finishing them also, so that this project can become a little bit lighter in terms of the amount of books that I'm reading at the same time. But so yeah, I'm very happy with being able to focus on Magical Readathon throughout this entire week, and it's really been pushing me to kind of read a little bit more throughout the week than maybe otherwise I would have. But yeah, we'll see how this week goes. I've already rolled, like I know what my goal is this week, and it isn't going to be as simple to focus on Magical Readathon as it was throughout this week. But so yeah, let me know how you are doing, how your readathon, like your Magical Readathon is going, if you are participating, and otherwise just let me know what's something good is that you've been reading recently. But so yeah, with that I'm just gonna end this video. Wish me luck for the week to come, and see you guys next week with another update about every book that I'm reading all at once.